Technical malfunction and nails. So yeah. Anyway, I ran out of memory. Fortunately, I know where I stopped, so we'll carry on. I'm so unprofessional. So as I was saying, the big release of this week was Batman, Absolute Batman, by Scott Snyder and Nick Dragotta. This was amazing. The artwork. I read, I think it was Ghost Cage from Image by Nick Dragotta, so I knew his art was good, very Japanesey Akira kind of style. Whole next level of this, and with the colouring by Frank Martin, it really brings his artworks to make it something special. I mean, look at this 19. It's the panel grids. He does these minute panel grids. What just fits so much in. Like here, the stuff it just flows so well. There's no space wasted. There's about I think it's about 32 story pages or something in this one, but it fit so much into this. What Marvel or DC in the past would like spread out over 4 issues. I mean, there's 19 panels in this one. This fight sequence here. So this is Marvel DC's first absolute comic. So it's this basically. It's a look at the. Initially, it's going to be the Trinity. So it's going to be Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Superman. So like the Holy Trinity of DC. But it's basically these characters without the privilege of the regular DC universe. So this Batman, he doesn't come from a life of privilege. He's not got the huge inheritance, the huge status of being a Wayne to fall back on. Superman will be Ray. I think he comes to Earth as a teenager. Wonder Woman comes from hell. So they're all very, very different interpretations. So this Batman, he's 24. His origin story is very, very different. A parent does die. I'm not going to say which one, but only one dies this time, and how they die is interesting as well. It's not so they've changed that as well, but it's not just that. It's things like his friends, and again, I don't want to give too many spoilers because you really do need to read this comic. His friend circle are made up of a very curious band of people, and I like how they've done this. How they put this twist on the Rogues Gallery in a very unique and clever way. Whereas the Ultimate line, it's still very Marvel. It just feels like a regular Marvel comic, just with a slight tweak. This is a whole new beast of Batman. One, he still doesn't use guns, but he's very doesn't stop him from cutting somebody's arm off. His ears detach on the blades. That symbol there, put a rod on it, and he's got an axe which he uses. He can like pivot with his cape. It's like this animatronic cape. It's just fantastic because again, on engineering background. But yeah, it's nice to see more like a street level Batman. He's a big chunky boy, thick thighs. And yeah, it's a very, and even Alfred's different. So in this issue, him and Alfred don't know each other, but Alfred's aware of him because of Alfred's job. So Alfred's not a butler in this. He's working for a secret government agency, and because the big bad in this is Black Mask, and I think they're called the Crazy Boys or something. I can't remember what they're called. And this group of people who wear like these skeletal masks who just terrorise the whole of Gotham. And it just shows. So Alfred comes to intercept this, and Batman does as well. And that's the first meeting of Batman and Alfred. It's almost like this cat and mouse game between the two of them. And it's just a joy and a pleasure to read. And again, I don't want to give too much of the plot away, but just this artwork and the use of even the lettering as well. It's just amazing. And what's nice about it, it's Batman normally can be set in dusk or daytime, nighttime all the time, but this is very much set in daytime. Lots of it, so the colour palette is very different. There's a lot of reds, blues, golds. But yeah, Alfred thinks he's outsmarted and knows a lot about Batman, but then Batman turns the table on Alfred, and then there's a final page which does a really good flip on the Joker. And again, you need to read it to find out for yourself, but it's chilling, but in an unusual way. Oh, it was a perfect comic. I'm glad I reserved this in my pull box because it sold out. I was a Wednesday warrior this week. I went on the Wednesday, and it sold out, completely sold out, and it ordered quite a lot. So yeah, it's a huge success. I think it's now on its third printing already. Yeah, it's a 10 out of 10. Do buy this. You will kick yourself if you don't buy it, and it is FOMO. You will miss out. I do want to try the rest of the series. This is what I'm saying. This is why I've stopped Marvel, because great art, great writing, and apparently they both agreed to be on this for at least 2 years. So 2 years, that's 24 issues with the same creative team. And no, Scott Snyder, he's got stickability, and he seems to bring the best out in these artists that he works with, so it could be even more than that. So you will not be disappointed. Perfect comic. Even if you're not a fan of Batman, you will find something fresh and enjoyable here. So yeah, really, really strong launch. And then we move on to Image now, and we'll look first at the Ghost Machine range of titles. So Red Coat has a really great cover as per usual. So this, with great art of course by Brian Hitch and writing by Jeff Johns. So this brings to conclusion the first story arc of Red Coat. So as he was being used by his friend in inverted commas, and he'd been struck by that, was it an axe or an F? I can't remember, but it's been a while since this was last week. But things happen. How vague is that? Things happen. And he basically escapes, and he thinks the cataclysm's over now. He thinks everything's going to be back to normal. So when he's found out when he leaves, is it New York or where he leaves, his powers wane. But when he comes back to land, he gets restored back to full health. So it ties up nicely for the time being his relationship with Einstein as well, which has been a really fun relationship. But then there's a really good twist at the end. It reveals the big bad, and yeah, I'm all for it. Red Coat's gone better with each issue. Artwork is just stunning. Yeah, it's a fun romp, which is the same, I guess, with all the Ghost Machine titles. 9 out of 10. And talking about fun romps, Hyde Street, the first issue by Jeff Johns, of course, and Ivan Reis on artwork, Danny Mickey on inks. Very, very great, good comic. It's very Twilight Zone-y. It's kind of like The Witching Hour meets Twilight Zone. So this is one character who hunts down people who think they've got away with their crimes, away with their sins. He's this young Boy Scout. But then there's this other guy who I think is called Mr. X or X-Ray Vision or whatever. And he's kind of like almost like a Phantom Stranger kind of character. And they're kind of like both trying to fight wrongdoers, but he's doing it in a different way to the Boy Scouts. It's just glorious, and it's Ivan Reis working at the top of his game. Ghost Machine definitely brings out the best in all the artists that work with Jeff Johns on here. And it's a nice comic. It's very different to the rest of the Ghost Machine titles. It's got a really nice supernatural flavour to it. I'm invested again. I've had to do a bit of readjusting in what I buy. But yeah, I don't think I'm going to be stopping any of the Ghost Machine titles. Again, 9 out of 10. You will regret it if you don't buy it. Geiger, love this cover of the mutated zebra with the third eye in the middle. One shock, but I get the reasoning for it. It looks like this story arc is going to be done by a different artist, by Paul Pelletier, who's a good artist, but he is quite different to Gary Franks. He's good, he's very good. I've always liked him. I used to like his stuff when he did Fantastic Four and other comics like that. he did cross-gen for a while. But he's just not got that heavy detail what Gary Franks has. But it's still a pleasant read. But it means that it gives the comic a chance to come out monthly, and at least it's not him doing a few pages and Gary Frank's doing a few pages. He's doing a story arc, and then Gary Frank means he'll have enough time to do the next story arc, and so on and so on. So in this issue, they stumble across this group of young children, and they go to help them. So this, his sidekick, the knight, I forgot what he's called, the one with the scarred face, he's kind of like grudgingly bringing out the best in Geiger. So Geiger was quite self-centered at one point, because the only mission, which understand the only mission he had on was vengeance for what's happened to him and his family. So the knight, whose name escapes me, he's kind of like softening him and making him realise that he can do more for the world as well. And it was a fast-paced story, but it was a delight, and there's some more villains introduced as well. Like I said, the art is by no means bad. It's a very, very high standard artwork. It's just not Gary Frank. But even so, I still enjoyed it. 8 out of 10. And then another Image one which came out 3 weeks ago, I think. I was a bit late picking it up. The Moon is Following Us by Daniel Warren Johnson, Riley Rossmo. I love both of the creators on this. If you've not got it, I do recommend picking up the Image series Rasputin by Riley Rossmo. Some fantastic early Riley Rossmo art in that. But this is very Riley Rossmo centric art with story by Daniel Warren Johnson. But Daniel Warren Johnson does do the last few pages as well. And they blend seamlessly together. So basically it's a fantasy story, and it's about this couple who try to rescue their daughter in this strange land, but it turns out this land is actually their daughter's dreamscape, their daughter's dreams. So they've kind of managed to go into the daughter's minds, and it's basically, I think she's in like this comatose state, and they've got to figure something out in her dreams to free her from this state, so it'll wake her up in the real life. Yeah, it was a good issue, really enjoyable, really nice art. They blend perfectly well together. I like the fantasy elements of it. It felt very much not like a comic, but it reminded me very much like a Terry Gilliam film, that kind of like magical realism kind of flavour. So yeah, 9 out of 10, do recommend picking that up. Another one which was great was the Universal Monsters Frankenstein issue 2, which came out last week. Michael Walsh still doing amazing artwork and storytelling on this. So I think this is the strongest one of the Universal Monsters comics so far. It's the one that ties in much more heavily with the film, what it's based on. And the colouring goes perfectly with Michael Walsh's artwork. And I've done a bit of investigating, and the reason why it works so well, Toni Marie Griffin is not just a great colourist, she's his partner. So it's like the Allreds. I think when you live with somebody, I think it rubs off artistically as well. You kind of like work in tandem perfectly, and that's why the colouring is so strong in this book. Like I said, but like with the Allreds, Laura Allred, when she colours Mike Allred, it brings his art level to another level, and it's the same with this team. So yeah, it's looking at the story of Frankenstein from this young boy's perspective, whose dad's hands are used as part of the creature. Yeah, it's great. 8.5 out of 10. And then Helen of Windhorn, I got this nice gold lettering edition, gorgeous cover. What can be said? Everybody else has gushed over this. Gorgeous, fantastic art. I've gushed over her art before. I don't know how they're going to tie it up with the next issue, because apparently the next issue is the last one. I'm kind of pleased they're doing that though. It's a great book, but I think it would lose some of its specialty if it was like an ongoing, to be honest. Maybe give it another year or 2 years and then bring out another 6-issue story. But it's a joy to read. Very high fantasy, sword and sorcery kind of style. Very much the element what they use with John Carter, Warlord of Mars, where they get somebody from Earth transported to another realm. So yeah, 9 out of 10, really nice comic. talking of really nice comics, got Conan the Barbarian by Jim Zub and Dougie Braithwaite. Oops. Beautiful artwork. This is a really nice storyline. I've just got to cover up her chest. There is quite a bit of nudity in this. I think every page I'm turning to like a boob shot. Here we go. But yeah, Dougie Braithwaite's artwork's really impressive in this storyline. The colouring is really nice by yeah, the colouring is by Dangerous Diego Rodriguez. There we go. I love how it's like the old Marvel manner of giving them really cool nicknames. So that's basically the Frost Giant's daughter. So it's a nice kind of like sideways homage to that storyline. It's Conan. What more do you need? This is the best Conan has ever been, and I'm a lifelong Conan fan from the books through to the Marvel comics, particularly the Savage Sword of Conan, the Black and White magazine, and then Dark Horse. Hated the Marvel ones, what they did recently. Hated them. Ugh, so watered down. But this is the best Conan's ever been. Jim Zub deserves a medal for what he's done with Conan. Yeah, 9 out of 10. One of the best comics on the market. Talking of that, we've got the second part of Battle of the Black Stone. So this is the big Howardverse crossover. So there's this mysterious Black Stone what's gone through all the timelines and drawn all of Howard's heroes together. The artwork by... who is it? So it's written by Jim Zub again. Artwork is by Jaunty Jonas Scarf, who's fantastic. So these are some of the characters. So they're all from different timelines, all fighting against the Black Stone. Not everyone survives. It's bloody. There's bad language in it. It's everything that a Robert E. Howard story should be. I love what Titan are doing with these characters. They're really respecting the property, and they're really respecting the readers as well. They're not dumbing down the storylines, and they're making it adult fiction, which is what it should be. Conan was aimed at adults in the 1930s, and that's how Conan should be handled now. It got so watered down at Marvel. I know I keep on bashing, but Marvel did not do it much favour with the second time they took it on. And now it's been unleashed. It's better than what Dark Horse did. Dark Horse did some good stuff. This is the best Conan's ever been, and I do recommend you get the magazine as well, Savage Sword of Conan, which has got... it's just amazing. But yeah, 9 out of 10. Really, really good. And another comic which is fantastic. I'm loving this. It's such a positive review episode. Another one that I'm absolutely adoring is Dick Tracy. This is number 5. This ties up the current storyline, which is full of police corruption and mob enforcement, by Alex Segura, who I got a like on Threads from when I was singing his praises. I was like, yay! I'm weird. I know some people, some of my friends on Threads, they talk directly to creators. I will only talk to them if they respond to one of my posts, because I don't want to come across as weird and stalkery, if that makes sense. It's my head. I just don't know. So I was like, oh, that's really nice. That's how I got talking to people like Ram V and other creators, Tom Taylor, because they commented on some post what I put up. I'd rather them approach me first before I approach them. But anyway, that's by the by. But this is so good. It's just a long-winded way of saying that he likes what I said about his comics. And I do. I love this. This is one of the best crime comics going at the moment. It's a really reverential treatment of the Dick Tracy universe, but moving it into modern sensibilities, crime sensibilities, very noirish. And he's actually going to be writing a Green Hornet comic, Alex Aguilera. So coming out in November, it's Green Hornet and Miss Fury from Dynamite, and I highly recommend you pick it up. So yeah, 9 out of 10, really good comic, and it's coming back out again in December. So another good comic, EC Cruel Universe, number 3. Love that cover. That's it. Oh, I got a Dave Johnson one, so I got an alternate cover. $4.99 cardstock cover, and I think there's about, there's 30 story pages in here. No, 32 story pages in here. Old story, no filler. That is amazing. And this is from a small company. Only it's not huge. They had a few hit series, but they're not huge. Not Dark Horse. They're not DC or Marvel or even Dark Horse level of popularity. But they're giving you value for money. Really gorgeous cardstock cover. Again, still doing the homage lettering, like the old EC letter type. And they've got some really good creators on it this time. Kano does the artwork for Automated. And Zach Thompson does a really good story, Redrawn on Earth, with really nice art by Dan McDade. Then the weakest one is the Deleted Man by Ben H. Winters and Carson Fawn. And there's a nice tiny little one by Cullen Bunn called Behave with art by Dave Rubin, who did the Dark Horse series. But yeah, it's good. I'd say I'd give this one a 7 out of 10. I don't think it was as strong as last month's, but it's still really good value for money, and I'm pleased I'm carrying on with it. It's an anthology, so not every story will hit. And then we've got Brian Azzarello and Vanessa Del Rey, The Creeping Below. I think this is only a 4-issue series, so I don't know if it's going to be like a series of mini-series. Love that cover. It deals with dark metal, black metal, and folk horror, and this weird hybrid. So think Midsummer meets I don't know. I don't know any black metal. Anyway, but yeah, it's good. It's. I wouldn't say it's not Azzarello's best. What I don't like about Boom though, the paper stock is weird. It's got the I don't know. For $4.99, it's very. I don't like the texture of the paper. It's weird. It feels like photocopy paper. That I don't know, like baking paper. But yeah, so it's about this. She's a photographer, American photographer. She ends up in, I think it's Norway, Sweden. I don't know. Is it Norway? I think it's Norway, isn't it, where it's all death metal. And she starts photographing these people at this this black metal venue, and they kind of befriend her and say, "Oh, follow us this much. Got to find out about this legend." And something happens to her, and they think that she's dead because time goes by, and she kind of comes back to life. But is she life as we know it? Who knows? Well, we'll find out next issue. But yeah, it's a nice folk horror one. It's good, but if you want to read a really good folk horror one, I recommend Thistlebone 1 and 2 from 2000 AD by T.C. Eglinton and Simon Davis. That is the best folk horror comic, period. It's gorgeous. Hunt for it on 2000AD.com. Thistlebone, just class. So because I've read that, it kind of like dulled my enjoyment for this one, because I know there's better comics out there dealing with a similar kind of premise. But I'll give it a 7 out of 10, and I think hopefully it will improve with the next issue. If not, I'll stop it. So one that I'm not stopping, and I got the alternate cover, didn't ask for it, but they put it in my box, so hey ho, I do kind of like it. Minor Arcana, issue number 2, Jeff Lemire's ongoing creator-owned comic. I love Jeff Lemire's artwork. So you either love him or you hate him in his art style. I like artists that push the envelope in what is viewed as sequential art, and it's just got this fluidity to it, this energy that I really like, and it's not as simplistic as it appears. There's a lot of detail behind it. So she's come back home to be with her mum, who's dying from cancer. Her mum's this psychic, and she wants her to carry on the family business. She doesn't want to, but it looks like she's very, very strongly psychic herself, and it's it's really freaking the fuck out of her. She doesn't know how to cope with it, so she ends up in like this weird. She has this sitting for this customer client of her mum's, and she's suddenly in this other place, and she meets this woman's partner who died years and years ago. He said he's there because he's waiting for his wife. He wants to be reunited with her. It tells a lovely backstory about them and everything, and yet it's great. It's a really good comic, very Vertigo-ish. He said he wants to do a Vertigo comic, and this is as close as you can get to having a Vertigo comic without it being a Vertigo comic. It's got a lot of heart. It's got a nice underlying mystery. It's taken its time to get there, and I'm all for it. Whereas I think with the stuff he did on Image, the recent ones, which I liked, Phantom Road, and the other stuff he did with Andrea Sorrentino, I felt like they kind of like meandered a bit, or they're more like a lot of style, less substance. This is much more substance. Maybe it's because it's much more of a personal project because he's doing everything on it. And because of that, I'm going to give this 9 out of 10 and do recommend this. And then another one, because I'm an easy mark, my favourite franchise, Terminator #1 from Dynamite, Declan Shalvey cover. Artwork is by Luke Sparrow. I love this comic, it's really nice. It's $4.99, but at least with Dynamite, they're all cardstock covers. It's good. It's not doing the standard thing what other comic companies have done with Terminator, where they've resurrected the whole John Connor storyline. Nothing to do with that. It's jumping about in timelines and showing different instances where the Terminators come back to Earth to find resistance fighters who've hidden within the timeline. And it's great. It's not a happy ending read, by all means, but it's a good, tidy little thriller. And there's a backup 2-page strip by Sal Crivello from Comic Pop and Colin Craker. What really pissed me off, and this is why I don't interact with it a lot on some comic sites, on League of Comic Geeks, it was showing the release date for this and all that, and people always comment about it, and people say, oh, this is when I could really want to gatekeep. They say, no, but Declan Shalvey is just an artist. I'm thinking, he's written loads. For one, he's doing Thundercats. He's written Alien. He's done Time After Time, or is it Time Before Time? He's done a few graphic novels. He's done a lot. He's done a lot of writing and a lot of artwork. And although it was really nice, oh, I'm just getting this because of the Comic Pop 2-page strip in the back. I'm thinking, what the hell? I read the 2-page strip in the back. By read, that's in brackets. There's nothing to it. It's alright, it's very low problem. First story, great. Buy it for Declan Shalvey and the main story. Don't be one of those people who buy something because they said, oh, he's from Comic Pop, so he's a YouTube celebrity or whatever. Buy it for the strength of the main story, and the main story is superb. And yeah, 8 out of 10. I'm definitely carrying on with that. Another one that I bought the first issue of and I enjoyed, but I kind of stopped because I thought, can you afford to get it? But now I've stopped Marvel, I can. This is Johnny Quest. Buy this fucking comic. Forget everything else I said, even the Absolute Batman one. Buy this comic. I don't think it's getting enough love at the moment. This is Joe Casey writing at the top of his game. This fills the space left by Paper Girls. It's got that same kind of fun element with timey-wimey elements thrown in. The artwork is just beautiful. So basically, Johnny Quest and his family have gone from 1964, I think it is, to present day, and the person who they meet there is a 71-year-old Johnny Quest. But this moves the story on so much in these next 2 issues. Joe Casey's on fire at present. But let me just find a page that blew me away. The artwork by Sebastian Perez is really good, but it's ably abetted by Lorenzo Scaramella on the colours. It's some of the best artwork out there at present. I highly recommend this. It's got hijinks, it's got humour. It's just a perfect action comic. I don't know anything about Johnny Quest. I used to read the Comic-Con comic back in the 80s, but I never watched the cartoon. I'm from the UK. It was not something that ever impacted the UK at all. But this, I'm invested. was one of my favourite reads of the past week. 10 out of 10, a perfect adventure comic. Talk about perfect comics. We're now on to Spectrograph from Distillery. This is number 3. I thought it was a 3-issue one, but it looks like it's a 4-issue. But continuing on the story of where they're going to this haunted house. The layouts on the artwork by Christian Ward is really good. The dialogue by James Tynion is his usual high quality standard. It's a really fun modern take on a ghost story, haunted house. And they're trying to escape the house because, for one, it does distress me about this because of being a parent. She's left a baby abandoned at home because she thought it was being an in and out job, but obviously she's been stuck there. And it develops more of their relationship, her and the woman who wants to become a ghost, which I mentioned in the last one when we looked at this comic. Yeah, it's just good. I've not read a Distillery book that I'm not enjoying, but this is one of the higher up ones. Great art, great storyline. 9 out of 10, really, really good. Yeah, they're $8.99, but you're buying a graphic novel, not comic. It's 48 pages, oversized, solid cover. I don't put these in bags, they just go nicely in my bookcase. And talking of Distillery, we've got the next one of Life, issue 2 by Brian Azzarello, Stephanie Phillips, Daniel Sajek. So this is a flip book. You've got one story written by Stephanie Phillips and one by Brian Azzarello. I must admit, I think I'm more of a Stephanie Phillips fan when it comes to the writing. She's got a better way with the dialogue. But basically, this is a team of thieves who go onto this planet to find this thing, like the MacGuffin. That's just for the plot point, basically. But what they don't realise is it's a prison planet, and all these convicts have been there for over 100 years, and they can't die. They've got to live out their sentences. So if they break the bones, they don't die. They still have the pain. So the bones on the bodies will set weird. If they lose a nose or whatever, lose a limb, it won't kill them. They'll just mutate with the environment. And so it's basically about this group of thieves encountering the inhabitants of this prison planet, and it goes on from there. The artwork is absolutely gorgeous. I love that style, very stylistic. But yeah, I do think the Stephen Phillips side is much more enjoyable than the Brian Azzarello. I don't know what it is with Brian Azzarello. I don't think he's as good as he used to be. I don't know if he's resting on his laurels or he's just not got it anymore. Who knows? But yeah, it's still good. 8 out of 10. I do recommend picking it up. And yes, that's it. Note to self, never leave comics for 2 weeks again. That was a long session. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it, and I will be doing some more videos today. I'll be giving a review of the latest 3 issues of 2000 AD because it's a perfect jumping on point. I'll be doing a look at issue 2 of Battle Action, and we'll be looking at the second part of the Nordland Empire crossover from 2008's Judge Dredd magazine. So we'll look at that as well. Okay, so bye. Have a great weekend.